relatives and important friends. Bless people connected with your duties. Bless anyone inimical to you or miscreants, if any, with kindness, so that they also change and lead a good life. Let us bless Vedadriyam, the world peace plan. Be blessed by the divine. Let us bless the World Community Service Center. Be blessed by the divine. Let us bless the Temple of Consciousness at Arya. Be blessed by the divine. Let us bless all the meditation centers across the world. Be blessed by the divine. Let us bless all those who are participating in the program today and their family members. Be blessed by the divine. Let us take the twofold moral oath. I, in my lifetime, will not give pain to others, physically or mentally. To the extent possible, I will remove the pain of others. I, in my lifetime, will not give pain to others, physically or mentally. To the extent possible, I will remove the pain of others. I, in my lifetime, will not give pain to others, physically or mentally. To the extent possible, I will remove the pain of others. We now expand our mind, we bless the entire world. Rain may pour on all parts of the world timely and sufficiently. Food grains may grow abundantly to the satisfaction of all living beings. Leaders of all nations may grow spiritually and do good service to humanity. May the whole world enjoy prosperity, happiness, and peace. May the whole world enjoy prosperity, happiness, and peace. May the whole world enjoy prosperity, happiness, and peace. May there be peace within us. May there be peace around us. May there be peace in the whole world. Peace, peace, peace. Gently rub your palms and fingers. Pass the energy over the face. Raise your hands. Take a deep breath. Exhaling, bring your hands down. We just conclude the meditation. Thank you all for participating in this beautiful meditation. And Saturday is a special day for our programs because on that day, apart from the usual meditation, we also invite some persons who are closely associated with Vedadri Maharshi's principles and practices and have come out to share their thoughts. And today in that series, we are lucky to have Arulnidhi Ramya, because she is not new to our group. She has been off and on coming and talking to us. Thank you, madam, for that. She is working she's a program manager. She's working in the software industry in British Columbia, Canada, in a public sector undertaking there. And she has been working in a number of other places around the globe, a lot of professional and personal experience. And as young as when she was 15, she was introduced to the system. Okay. But then she says because of prarabdha karma, she has gone somewhere else, things like that. But Sanchita karma has brought back to her. Okay. So thanks to her forefathers and all that. And for the last 6 years, she has been doing a great service in British Columbia region for our meditation center. Now she'll be going to talk about the art of clear thinking, how that is so important, whether it's personal or professional life, which makes or mars your life. On behalf of all of you, I'm very happy to request Ramya ji to take over and give a talk. Over to you.
Hello, thank you for the introduction. And I feel very happy and blessed to join this group whenever I have an opportunity. And this is my opportunity to share the knowledge that I have with me that I gained through Vedatrium. Hi, everyone, and good morning for everyone. I hope you all started today, this weekend, with a big refresh and you all had a refreshing weekend and you're ready to listen for a quick topic that we are all trying to introspect on our own self. But before getting into the topic, I just wanted to take this with a confession. Okay. Few months ago, my old laptop really died. And it sounded like it is actually giving me a jet engine takeoff when I turn it on, when I do some work on the laptop. And it made more sense for me to buy a laptop. So I had a plan. I really know what I wanted. But then when I started browsing for the laptop, there was one laptop that had really nice features and it is called the Starlight Silver laptop. And beyond my thinking, I just was like, had an urge and I went and bought a laptop which was like more than 40% of my budget. And my brain said, like, don't buy it. And my brain was so loud enough to say, don't buy it. It is like, it's not going to have much use. But the marketing tactics that was written there made it more flashy. Hey, you'll become more creative, you'll become more interesting when you buy that laptop. And it's going to make your performance 50 to 60% higher when you buy this laptop. I bought it. After 2 weeks, the same person, when I started using the laptop, I found it was not that interesting to me anymore for the price that I'm paying. And it also exhausted 40% of my money. Whenever I check my credit card, I feel like, oh, I didn't get the what I wanted, but still I'm paying something more. Have you ever felt that this kind of marketing gimmicks or something else are always taking your brain, like taking that last piece of the pizza or like getting into the anger and then regretting 10 minutes later? I hope most of us had, right? So before we jump into that, I just want to take a minute. We'll just go on a minute silence and think of that bad decision that we recently made, knowing that it is a bad decision. So we'll just go for a quick 30 seconds to 1 minute silence. And when you have that decision in your mind, we'll just come back and we'll continue our talking. So we'll go for a minute silence, team. Close your eyes. Slowly get to your thought process on the recent happenings and identify that decision that you made, knowing that decision was not the one that you really wanted. Some examples could be going to a restaurant or a party where you feel like you're full but still had the last piece of sugar or a sweet. Going to a shopping mall and then identifying yourself ending up buying something that you really not a necessity, but still you just spent because you had money or you wanted to just shop around and the clothes was really nice and cheaper at that moment. Think that moment where you really got angry and frustrated and lost 4 to 5 hours of your energy just because somebody was not handling their emotions better. They passed on that to you, either at work or at home or somewhere. Be blessed by the divine. let's come back to the speech. I hope everybody have their thoughts into it. So if you have it, just post that decision into the chat. We'll continue talking. So this kind of decision making is something called autopilot problem. So that's what we are going to dissect today. So the autopilot program actually constitutes to 4 different conditions. What is that? Is like your brain is always trying to be in the survival mode, not in a strategy mode. We are just trying to be pushing off on the day to days rather than taking a step back and think clearly before we move forward. So that's what that survival brain strategy is going to turn into a strategy brain, eliminating the autopilot mode and bringing in clear thinking. So I'm going to give you 4 different types of ways where this autopilot modes actually take over ourselves. This is very well explained in our introspection, but I'm just going to dissect this in a more modern way as we are all going into the AI model. So what is that? Is like the first one is emotional default. The second one is going to be ego default. The third one is going to be social default. And fourth one is going to be inertia default. Emotional default means my emotion is going to take the front seat in my car, or it'll be the driver in all my decisions. It will be taking my driver's seat. That is called emotional default. For example, when I first read an email from my colleague on my office chat, then immediately after reading the email, then I get very, very angry and I say, oh, this person shouldn't have done this. Hey, this person is bad. And I go to my emotional peak and immediately type a response to him saying, what you did was wrong. You were very bad. You didn't know what is happening in my team. You're just accusing my team. This is where the anger takes the dump. And all the life force that we have saved so much is going to be exhausted in just that one single emotional default. And we'll get completely drained. We want to go for a coffee. We feel like, okay, whatever we have been thinking, like, okay, that should be a stop there, whether taking a coffee or going for a cigar or going for anything else, going for a chit chat or getting into some kind of bad discussions, everything kickstarts there. So we are losing a lot of energy because we are not able to stay calm, understand what is that loss we are going to make, and make a deeper thinking there. The second one could be the ego default. So this is something very, very tricky because this is going to be a silent driver. You will never know that your ego is actually taking over. Some quick example is like, I make a decision and over a span of time, I know that the decision is not working right, but I still try to be proving myself right. For example, when I was a team lead, when I had to drive a project within my team, I know that is really hard. It's going to be exhilarating my team, but still, I kept moving on with the decision because I made the decision. I don't want to open up and say the decision was wrong, but I felt like saying the decision was wrong is saying I was wrong. So I kept doing it, and after a very long period when I didn't have an opportunity to go back and correct because we already exhausted my team's time. We already exhausted the team's energy towards it, and also the budget was exhausted. So the ego is something that stays within us. It will never know that the ego is taking over. It is a very minute thin line that illusion that separates I am from we are doing it. Okay, so it will squeeze you to the bottom. You will never know that crushed tube is going to create some scream, hey, you're disrespected. Okay, so that is where you will just start fighting or you will just start emotionally venting out because of the ego default. So we know greed, vanity are also another 6 temperaments that we are all already aware of. So we should know where that me, my, and I traps you than from we, are, and us. The third part of it is could be the social default. This is something called the sheep mentality. Okay. What is that sheep mentality is everybody is talking about the social media. Everybody is watching Instagram for 15 minutes every day. They come up talking about they did reels, they did something. Why am I left out in the group? Why am I always talking about Vedatriyam? Should I also not join the club and say, hey, I also did Instagram reels today? Did I also watch that YouTube shorts that talks about some cinema actress? Then our brain is like social conditioned. I'll always go with the group. And then we'll start installing all these apps and start watching it. That is one social default. What are the other social defaults we have? Our brain clearly says, hey, Ramya, don't do this. And but still, everybody is doing. Why should I always stand out? I don't like to be stand out. I don't want to be noticed. Then we always start making that bad decision. We want to go with the group. This was an MBA related topic where how you identify your social default and make yourself you stand out with your uniqueness. So there was an experiment conducted, and among the 10 people, all of them were asked to say, can you choose which color is black and which color is gray? And out of the 9 people, out of the 10 people, one person was chosen to say, always point to the gray and say it's black. And that person was the most popular and he was the brightest student in the class. When this experiment was first conducted, when the brightest student said like, always said the wrong answer, pointing out to a gray block and said it's black, everybody was having a second thought. And slowly, after the first experiment, only one person was saying that wrong. Slowly, it became 3, slowly it became 5, and slowly the entire class said the gray block is black. That's because we are socially conditioned. We should understand when I am socially conditioned. When somebody comes and say, hey, a girl has to be properly dressed. Yes, a girl has to be properly dressed. Dressing is important for both girls and boys. And you should know when to stand for yourself. Respect comes in from properly dressing, not from improper dressing. Respect comes from how you approach a girl while they're even properly dressed, right? So you should let the group rethink because you have the right knowledge, not because you are the more influential person. Today, we have a lot of leaders trying to be our, like a lot of people trying to be our leaders. Really, did we really think, do they have the quality? Do they really have that quality to lead us? Are they leading us in the right direction? So just because everybody wants that person doesn't mean I want to go and elect that person, right? The same way. When my son says, hey, can you vote for this person? He is under 18. How can he make a decision for me to say, Mommy, I like this person. Can you vote for this person and make him a leader? Then that is where our thinking comes in place, right? We should be able to tell them, hey, we are not socially conditioned. Our love is completely different. We have to elect a leader who can actually reflect our mindset and help us lead the life that we wanted. The last one, this is called inertia default. This is very, very karmic and groovy because this is where Maharishi says a karma takes over. Okay, which means like every time I perform an action, I go with whatever I have already selected. I needle into the naturally fallen decisions that makes me even more weak. Some example is I like tea. So I know that for my sedentary lifestyle, because I sit the whole day, tea is considered to be a modern alcohol. Okay. So knowing that, still everybody in my house starts drinking tea as a first thing in the morning. When I wanted to give up tea, their lifestyle is different. They all go to workplace, they stay home, they do cleaning in the house. My mom does a lot of household work. She can drink tea because she's walking, moving, and everything. The same time, my dad can do, my spouse can do, everybody can do. But I sit from morning 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the same place, attending meetings right from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. I don't even have an opportunity to drink a cup of milk, or I don't have an opportunity to take my water during that window. Is tea going to be helpful if I drink in the as a first thing in the morning? No, right? But my inertia default takes, okay, everybody in the house is drinking. That is social conditioned. When I wanted to make a decision, go ahead and make a decision, my brain will say, hey, it's just tea, just a small cup. It's okay. You can drink it. That is where a groovy and scratchy records come to place. You've been drinking this for 20 years. Nothing happened to you. So why you can continue drinking? So that is inertia default. We should start identifying where our inertia, that is that regular practice, has already been an imprint on me, and that is autopilot that is taking that evil decision and saying, it's okay, let's do it for this time. Out of this four, I hope everybody have their thought of like, okay, this was the bad decision, right? We previously discussed about the bad decision that we already made. So, can somebody unmute and give us under what these conditions do you think that your decisions were previously influenced? I have one example from Balachandraya, an insurance plan that was chosen by the agent, not the originally that he thought of. This was influential, but that could be an option for us also. Like, we didn't have the required knowledge, but at the same time, we wanted to know what that both the plans. So we have an opportunity for us to understand what these two insurance plans are and which one we really wanted. Do we wanted something that gains us immediate money or like gains us money at the end of the term as well, right? So we have an opportunity for us to evaluate. We take a step back, put our brain in front. We're not emotionally driven by somebody saying, hey, it is very good, you will be becoming better. This is somewhere we stand between emotions, and this is where I say it is inertia. Inertia default to. Inertia is like we always rely on somebody to help us make that decision for us. We believe somebody else who's having that nice, rosy words on his tongue is a good person who makes decision for us. It is not just emotional default, it is inertia default. We should be very careful when somebody else is making a decision because the decision is based on his life experience. The best decision is based on his thought process to approach life. Because when I take somebody's decision into my life, not every ordinary moments is like every single moment, he's not going to be in, injecting his idea into it. It is I have to drive that decisions going forward. Then what is that I have to do is I have to know, I have to take decisions based on how I will carry this decision as well, because once a decision is made, you have to live with the decision. So there is no coming back and saying, hey, I made a bad decision yesterday or last month or last year and regret for it today, right? So that is where our inertia default should be very careful when somebody is trying to be influential on us. And anybody else have any decisions that they wanted to put this into these four quadrants? Amma, can the participants type or they can unmute, Ma?
I think social media is making a lot of impact on our lives, much more than what is heard earlier.
Yeah. Yes, sir, yeah. Social default is called the social media influence. I call them as social conditioning, because everybody is using social media. We start tending to use social media more like others. We don't know the difference between where do I really need a social media account or not, because we feel like social media is connecting me to the rest of the world. What does that connection really means? Do we need that Instagram connection or really need a different application connection? Because there are other learning platforms where people talk and intellectually connect with others. And what we watch is more influenced based on what we actually want at that moment. Sometimes when like social media is more smarter, and people always say like it is becoming the emotional partner. So I'm actually making me physically disconnected from the present world that I'm living in. So we should be aware of that too.
When I
Okay, I
was thinking
continue.
about the
Okay.
insurance plan, just
Yes, I am.
later on only I realized that what is good for that agent is what he was pushing, not what is, and our lack of knowledge. And we take it for granted and come to know later.
Yeah, because sometimes our brain is getting too tired because we are constantly making decisions. We constantly wanted to be on top. For example, this is a good example where I can say every day, right from the morning, I continuously make decisions for one or other reasons. What dress I have to wear, what should I cook, what things should I make. And these decisions eventually make us too tired when it has to come to a point where we have to make the decision for life changing events. For example, insurance, the amount that I put in today is not about today's event. It's going to happen after 5 years or 20 years or 30 years. So ideally what happens is like I'm physically and mentally weak at that moment where I get influenced. So that's why when we see some intelligent people wearing same clothes every day, so they avoid making decisions at that moment. And in IT we say like, okay, we'll do something called daily stand-up meeting. And the concept behind is you meet at the same time, you meet the same people in the same order, people will come and give you the message. So you are focused towards only one thing. What is the problem that they are discussing in the meeting rather than the logistics towards the meeting. Logistics is like what time I have to meet, whom I have to meet, when do I have to meet, and all that confusion. Where do I have to meet? So when we are saying we want to meet an insurance agent, one of the problem that I see is like we put in a lot of energy to say, okay, did I meet the right insurance agent? There is another part of it. Will the right insurance agent give the right plan that I wanted? So the person can be very good. A doctor, when I wanted to search for a cardiologist, we go to Google and say, give me the best cardiologist around my city. Will the best cardiologist give the best decision for you? That is where the main resolution lies, right? So he should be capable enough identifying the problem that you are having at that moment. So our focus should be on part A. Will I get the right decision? So how will I be able to find the person who gives me that best treatment for today? So our intent is not finding the best doctor. The doctor is best in all the ways. But my intent is finding the best treatment for me. So we all miss that second part. Okay, anybody else wanted to share their thoughts about their decisions? We'll quickly move on to the next talk thing. Okay. This is another extreme trap that I wanted to share. So, when I say we are in emotional default or any inertia default, what is that we have is like send it now trap. Okay, what is it? Is like when I face a situation, I react to the situation, and the reaction wants to be happening at the same moment. When I enter the house, when the house is not clean, immediately I will shout at my child, I'll shout at somebody else in the house and say, why is the house not clean? Okay, is that going to help me out in cleaning the house? Or is that going to help the people understand that they have to keep the house clean? Or is that going to be fixed the next time I enter the house? No, right? But our words are very strong. The moment I see the problem, I start shouting. Why is the house not clean? Why can't you people clean the house? So that is called send it now trap. When I see when I see a very harsh email on my office Outlook, immediately I have an option to say, send a reply to that person telling him you're not right. Tell him you're not right. So immediately you wanted to prove that you're not right, and immediately you wanted to push that information out of your brain. That is emotional defaulty. I want justice. I want to prove myself I'm right. So that is where we will get into the trap of chest tightness, sensations getting more extreme, and a feeling taking the driver's seat. So this is where we are just trying to stop and create a space. What is that space that we are trying to create? Creating a space for from being right to getting it right. Do I have to prove by replying to that email saying, hey, this is a problem, this is where you are gone wrong, you have, and I am always right in these decisions? Do you have to go in that mode, or you all always want to be getting things right? My intent is like, when I enter the house, next time the house has to be clean, I have to make sure that everybody understands that having a clean house is important, and I have to make sure that everybody around me is having that accountability for keeping the house clean. How can I bring it? So, removing my inertia default, my ego default to protect myself, or removing my other social conditioning effect like clean house, clean minds. That is a social conditioning, right? It's not necessarily that all the time a clean house has a clean mind, right? So, do I want to be really right, or do I want to get things right? So this is the slogan that we have to rethink whenever we are getting into the space, and just create a space, pause, that 5 seconds pause to reflect before we react. So that's where Maharishi has introduced us to a beautiful toolkit that is nothing but our meditation and introspection. So it is before I am getting into the cloud of reaction, I am just taking a step back and realizing, do I have to step in that cloud? Is it making me mechanical, or is it making my brain stressed? Or where is my brain beta frequency is? Is it getting into the beta frequency, or it's getting to the alpha frequency? Because I have to come down on my alpha frequency, right? So that's where I have to slow down. How will I be able to slow down? Creating that space. That is the first step. So, so the first space is like being the power of creating the alpha frequency. So once we start meditating, we'll be able to say that, okay, I'm going to react. Let me create a space, reflect, and then understand whether that reaction is needed and go there. So we say, I am moving from a monkey on an espresso to an owl with wiseness. So that is where a beta frequency moves to an alpha frequency. We can start thinking clearly. Like, if I'm not a monkey on an espresso, when I open it, it's going to flush my emotions. I'm going to be on the other side of the wisdom, being wise like an owl, and reach that alpha state of frequency. The second part of the problem is we have to neutralize the anger and identify what is that problem we are trying to solve. So, first thing when I get into a problem, so simple example is when I find the laptop, both the laptops, one that I wanted, one I really know that this is what the specification I really wanted. The second thing is like something higher than what is actually being available in the market, more flashy, more costly and stuff. When I have these two options, I don't go buy impulsively on the same moment. when it's going to be a very costly or a very high financial impact decisions, I take a space back and then say, okay, I'll take 24 hours to 1 week to explore what I need between the both. Okay. And then the second step is defining the problem. What will happen when I go with a laptop A? What will happen? I go with laptop B. And then I make a condition, okay, this is going to be 40% higher on my pocket. Do I really need it now? Or I can wait to invest that 40% on something else that I really need. I could use that 40% of money to fix my car. I could have used that 40% to invest on my child's education for the future. Or I could have used that 40% of the money to buy me some good food and give me a week's vacation that could have given me much more interesting things that I can do, right? So defining the problem. So how will I be able to define what is the problem that trying to solve? I'm just trying to solve a problem of fixing my broken laptop or replacing my broken laptop. That is the problem, right? And what is that I'm doing on a daily basis with my personal computer? From 9 to 3, I'm with my office laptop. I'm using my personal computer only for meditations, meetings, and any work, school work that I have to do for my kid. Do I need very complex configurations at this moment or no? So these are the problem definitions that we are trying to define. And then we are not trying to define it to an extent where it blows our fuse. This is a very important point. I think and I overthink. So I'm the boss of the mind. So I should know what I'm thinking and where I stop the thinking. Once I jot all this information, I make a clear boundary. Okay, I made my decision what I wanted and I keep moving on. You're not going to come back and dissect the same problem again and again because your brain is very good only when it dissects first. For example, I take a knife, I do a first cut on my vegetable. That is when the cut is perfect. When I keep chopping, it gets granulated. You will never identify that it is carrot anymore, right? The more you chop that information, it is not a carrot anymore. So it is crushed. So you don't have to crush the problem. Set a clear boundary of the boss brain and then define the problem. Third thing about this is like once you create a space, you define the problem, and then the next step is analyzing the consequences. What is that consequences like? Okay, the second order thinking. What will be the immediate benefit that I would reap when I buy a laptop? What is that long term benefit I would reap by buying this laptop? Am I causing pain to my mind and body, or I'm going to be very happy in the future? So, for example, when I take that extra scoop of chicken biryani onto my plate, I feel very amazing. I feel like, hey, whatever money I've paid to that shop owner, it is really, really worth it because I ate 3 scoops of chicken biryani, which I will not get it anywhere else. But what happens? That's going to cause pain to the body because I'm not used to eating 3 scoops of chicken biryani at the same time. My body can accommodate only 1 or 2 scoops. That third scoop might make me feel happy now, but when I go home, I won't be that lunch will turn out to be my dinner. That lunch will turn out to be my next day morning because my stomach is still hurting. Okay, my digestion hasn't been completed because it has to digest so much of food. I ate till the neck of my till the neck, so my stomach hasn't completely digested. So the short-term pleasure versus long-term pleasure. So we make that decision and understand and make a decision of enjoying that limited portion that I really needed. That is where clear thinking comes into play in a practical way. And in order to do all this, we have to start using the best toolkit to create a space, I define the problem, and then analyze the consequences. So, what is that toolkit that we have today is the philosophy of life by Vedatri Maharishi, where he has given us broken down into doing introspection, Agatavam, that is nothing but meditation. And the third thing is silence. One of the beautiful gifts that we can give it to our own self. When a knowledge that you have is not put into practice, then we are turned to be the full people living around. So a person who's going to a good school, getting graduated, when the knowledge is not put into practice, then there is no difference between a person who has gained the degree and the person who has not gained the degree. The same way, we are integrated into our Vedatri Maharishi. We had the blessing of learning these moral principles today. And if I'm not able to look around and cool myself and strengthen my mental ability, then there is no point in getting that knowledge. So that extra money that I put into a laptop, is it going to cause a pain or not? If I'm not able to make the decision through the learning that I've got today, then it's not a learning. Then I haven't learned anything. So that is where we are trying to say, from the urge of reaction, we are trying to take a pause, take a deep breath, shift the monkey beta brain to an alpha owl brain. If that reaction is serving our ego, or it's a reaction that is serving my peace. So that is where we will start thinking about it. And I would take a pause to see if anybody has a question, and I will just conclude this discussion too. Alpha Olamudan. Anybody has any questions?
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for excellent speech. Yeah, now it's our turn. Anybody wants to interact with our speaker, please be free to ask. Anybody else?
Yeah, anybody can unmute and speak, I think. Now, Mr. Sanghu
Yeah,
wants
now
to
it's
say something.
வாழ்க வளமுடன், ma'am. It's an excellent speech, which very simple and a lot of examples. I loved the carrot example and the monkey espresso and owl thinking. I will use that because sometimes when we have examples that register in our mind, it's easy to do. Thank you very much. Lot of information, but in a very simple way to help us understand with examples. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Varga Sujay here. I just wanted to ask if this session recorded because I joined a little late. I didn't realize the session was going on.
Yes, sir, yeah, it's recorded.
And it's available on YouTube or?
It's available in YouTube. The link will be shared in YouTube for you.
Okay, great. So there's one question I wanted to ask about thinking. I know since I didn't attend the course, the session right from the beginning, I don't know the full extent of it. But in order for us to avoid negative thinking, is that something that's covered here? If the thoughts are coming up where it's bound to be negative, but you want to avoid it or change it, how do you change it? I think that's something that I want to understand.
So we haven't detailedly talked about negative thoughts, but one of the best way to get rid of negative thought is like when I sit for meditation, that's called procrastination. So we are always overthinking beyond of what we are capable of doing that itself. For example, when I take my bike and I always have a sense of, will I fall, will I fall, will I fall? Then before falling itself, I'm getting into the pain of falling because my brain is completely stuck with effective decision making, right? So what first step is like writing down the problem, or what is that negative thought that you get. Write down the problem and see what is that, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and then going back and reflecting and saying, hey, if I do this, this will happen. If I don't do this, this will never happen. Right? So when I want to be always on the right side of right, which means like when I make a decision, I always wanted to make it right. I should know what makes it wrong, right? So that is where the negative thoughts comes into play. So you know what's going to go wrong. So how I can make it right with a compensating positive thought, saying, okay, I'm going to fall down from the bike. When will I fall down from the bike? I asked the logical questions to say, okay, if I don't balance it properly, when I overload my bike, when I don't brake it at the right time, if I overspeed, so am I going to overspeed? When I'm going to overspeed? What is that I have to control when I'm overspeeding? What should I take a step back to think I'm overspeeding? So knowing what goes wrong is always right. So having a bad thought is always good point, but you should know when you should compensate that going wrong with the right event. Did I help you understand how to
Yeah.
dissect the problem?
Yeah, I understand that. I think this is logical thinking that you're referring to.
Mm.
But when your mind is so much into the habitual negative thoughts, and it's going into that repetitive loop, and it is so fast that it looks at an incident, and then it observes that, and it immediately gets into the negative thought patterns. I'm trying to, this is happening to me, and I'm trying to get out of it. While I'm doing that, there are times where I apply the positive thought, I come out of it sometimes, and most of the times it gets into the negative vibe again and again. It is trying to push me. Okay, I get a positive thought by overlapping on top of it, but then it gives me even more a stronger negative thought. Oh, what if this happens? Or what if that happens? Even more a stronger case to be in that loop. I'm trying to find out how I can. This has been a habit, unfortunately, for me because I did not seek help back then. But I'm trying to get out of it. And I'm sometimes I do freeze that a positive thinking by using by asking myself, who am I? What is going on with me? Then it just mind turns inward. But then it doesn't help all the time. Just trying to
Okay.
ask those kind of questions. I mean, it may not be relevant all the way here, but I'm just trying to understand a little bit.
Okay. So I'll try to answer from my aspect, and I also have my senior professor who's going to support this problem.
Sure,
So
sure.
when we start always compensating with thoughts, we will not be able to replace a thought by a thought because we are training our brain to think. We are not training our brain to stop. Okay. So for example, when I say you have to compensate a bad thought with a good thought, you're not doing anything here. You're just making your brain continuously think. You're not making your brain stop thinking. The problem here is your brain is overthinking beyond it where it has to actually stop. Okay. So in order to do that, the first step is journaling. So that is where the first condition starts. Whenever you get a thought, just write down the thought. Hey, I'm getting this thought. And then after a week, when you just look into it, you don't have to go reread the same journaling. You just crush it out. So the next step of journaling is you write the thought and you just write a solution to it. Is it okay? Whenever I go on a bike, I have a fear of falling down. That is the problem. And whenever I take my bike, I feel like I'll fall down, I'll fall down, I'll fall down. So you start writing that point. And then you say, whenever I take my bike, the next week, whenever I take my bike, I have fear of falling down. And then say, I have that fear, but I'm overcoming the fear with a good, I'm overcoming the fear. The fear is not in me anywhere. So this is where you have provided a solution to the brain. You have brought in a logical conclusion to the thought that you have done. Once you have provided the logical conclusion, your brain will immediately go identify, hey, this loop is closed. So it goes there and finds the solution and comes back. When the loop is not closed, when the loop is open, you are training your brain to think what are the other possibilities to go around. So it is always like a branching tree. So I put a root and I into the soil. The root always tries to go deeper and deeper, penetrating. I should know that penetration, is it required in fetch of water or it is going to get stopped by hitting a rock. Okay. So you're trying to provide a solution to all the thought that you have, and your brain, whenever the brain brings the thought again, you tell them, hey, you already have a solution, why do you have to think about it? And that is where you will slowly start reducing your thought level, and meditation is the first place it will help you. When you're meditating, you will have billions of thoughts. Open your mind immediately and start writing all your problems, and then try to see if you have a solution, attach every solution to it. And then brain say, hey, you listed 100 items today and you're able to provide solution for the first 50. I have only 50 to think today. And then 50 will become 5 one day, and 5 will become 0 one day. And I also leave it to Balachandra Ayya to give us that explanation. Ayya.
Well, you have been giving very good explanations. I'll just share one thought. Yes, negative thought, if you say I should not get negative thought, you will get more and more of that thought only. That is the nature of mind. And then Swamiji gives a beautiful practice called analysis of thought. We don't analyze the thought. We keep getting some thought and it keeps coming again and again and again. Instead, he says, okay, that's what introspection, the first this thing itself. List out your thoughts and take any thought. For example, whatever thought is bothering you, find out the root of the thought. This is what is called analysis. You see? So what is the root of the thought? And he has identified 6 roots. It may be because of need, it could be because of habit, could be because of other man's imposition, environmental condition, heredity, etc., like that. So once you identify the root, your problem becomes much easier. Is it because of need? I have to fulfill it. If it is because of habit, then you can ask, what is the consequence of these thoughts? Okay, you found out the root and the consequence. If the consequence is not good, if it is because of habit, okay, it's because of habit, this thought is coming, I'll change the habit. So you put another habit. Is it because of environmental conditions, other man's imposition? Yes. Smoking, Swamiji says, nobody has bought the first cigarette with his money. It is all dharmopadesham of their close friends. Okay, so now again, then you get addicted to smoking. You never question that. You say, oh, it's because of friendship, that group. That is not required for me. Then you can have a counter thought and work on it. You go through the analysis of thought, that will give a great clarity to you. And Madam has given a lot of examples. Oh, I think it's already 7:40. I think we have to come to a conclusion. Maybe we'll have a continuation of this talk even later. Any last concluding remark, Madam, you would like to say?
Yeah.
Thanks.
I
Thanks
would
for
like
all
to
the thanks for all the explanation, both Balachandra and Ramya, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks. Even Sangu also wanted to ask something. Yes, that will be the and then.
Mm. But can I add one simple thing just before wrapping up?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Yeah, one thing. Yeah, one thing I wanted to add was like just acknowledge that you are going through that and you have that negative thought, because it's like a mind is like a child. It needs acknowledgement. You need to acknowledge that, hey, I'm going through the pain. It's okay, and that kind of giving yourself that you know make it more, it will, somebody has to feel it, right? Like, so do that for yourself and that would help. And then after that, it calms down, just like the ma'am was saying, right? And then you go through the analysis process that Balachandraya was saying. So just a thought, that's all.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again.
you.
Yeah.
So, before we conclude, I just want to emphasize on the last fact. So, there is no big moment that's going to happen. That all the big moments are built by tiny moments in our life. So, every small decisions, every small step that makes us move towards clear thinking will give an extraordinary results in the way we live today. So, start from very minor decisions like watching TV, drinking tea or coffee, to a major decision of buying a house and maintaining a relationship, because sometimes we are living in a place where we know our job is not good, our things are not good working out for us, but still we end up in a place where we say, okay, I live with the known devil rather than being identifying the unknown angel. So the unknown angel is always an angel. So that's why it says, though it is unknown, it's an angel. Okay. So we have to move away from the bad habits and move away from our inertia default, experience the change of staying in silence, admitting when we are wrong, and hitting the decision of being very impulsive and start changing those ordinary moments so we'll have extraordinary life. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for excellent speech. Shall we conclude the session, ma'am?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir, Balachandra, sir. Once again, on behalf of WCSC Sky Online English Group Meditation, we thank you all for the kind participation. And now let's go for today's announcement. Daily, we are having online English group meditation, morning 6 a.m. and evening 6:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And then also we are conducting 1st and 16th of every month foundation courses. You can refer your friends and relatives. And for any queries, you can go to www.kundaliniyoga.edu.in. With this, we close our session. This is Visalakshi Saravanan signing off. Be blessed by the divine.
Hi, Jananima.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi. Can you just repeat your question?
Ma'am, you said that when we think of doctors, we search as like the best doctors. That was very correct. Like I always search as like the best doctor. But then you gave a different perspective. You said that we have to always think like if I'm going to receive the right treatment. It's not only about the right best doctor, but will that doctor providing the right treatment to me? So that was a very different perspective, and that was very good also. It, as you said, that is a I could connect with it. So I just want to know, how do I identify the like this person could give the right treatment to me?
Okay, so that is where introspection is, Ma. So you will, you now know what you wanted. Earlier, you were wanting a different stuff. For example, when I wanted it, when I'm thirsty, you should be knowing you wanted to a tumbler or some holder to get water, right? Instead,
Yes, ma'am.
we are thinking about I wanted a very fancy water bottle to hold my water and all stuff. But the point here is like you should be focused in getting a clean, good, hygienic water. So
Okay,
when your
okay,
want itself is changing, your search will always naturally take you to the right place. So the journey is what you're telling me. So you will be able to figure out your journey too. It's because it's your customized journey. When you know what is that destination that you have to reach and you have identified that is the right destination, then a journey itself will take you to the destination, right?
okay,
Earlier,
okay,
our destination was different. Earlier, a destination was only to find the right doctor. Okay, now the right doctor who gives the best treatment for me. So you've added that clause. So your journey of searching the best doctor, when you interact with the doctor itself, you'll be able to identify whether the doctor is right or wrong. Whether
okay,
he's
okay,
able to
ma'am.
understand. So he gives the space for you to talk, he gives the space for you to listen to your body's needs. Sometimes when I go to a doctor and I say I have severe stomach pain, he'll say, oh, all stomach pains are because the girls have menstrual cycle. So that is not a generic statement, he jumps into a conclusion. So this is what I wanted from the doctor, right?
True, true,
So
true.
when you interact, you'll be able to. So when you have corrected your destination, you will be naturally getting to a place where you will be able to find the right journey to get to the destination.
Thank you so much, ma'am. This gives a whole new perspective. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Aya, can we close the
Yeah,
meeting,
yeah.
Aya?
We can conclude now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for clearing our participants' doubts. Thank you so much. Be blessed by the divine.
Thank you, ma'am.